Welcome back. You're watching Live from Paris. I'm Rochelle Ferguson-Biyahi. These are the top stories that we're following for you. A gloomy outlook for Brexit, with the probability of a no deal higher than that of a deal. So says Britain and the EU this Friday, amid last-minute talks in Brussels. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan calls for calm as he warns that increased sanctions by the EU will have a detrimental impact on everyone involved. Also coming up for you, Argentina could be on the way to legalising abortion. This after the lower house of parliament voted in favour of a key bill. Our top story this hour then, a Brexit trade deal between Britain and the European Union looks to be hanging in the balance this Friday evening. The EU's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, and his UK counterpart, David Frost, are meeting in Brussels as a deadline to forge a last-minute trade deal looms. Well, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen have given negotiators until Sunday before deciding whether to keep talking or indeed to give up. Have a listen.
We have not yet found the solutions to bridge our differences. We will decide on Sunday whether we have the conditions for an agreement or not. In the meantime, the Commission has proposed 4 targeted contingency measures today.
Progress can be made, but I've got to tell you that from where I stand now, here in Blythe, it's looking, very, very likely that we'll have to go for a solution that I think would be, wonderful for the UK. We'd be able to do exactly what we want from January the 1st. Obviously, it would be different from what we'd set out to achieve, but I've no doubt that this country can get ready and, as I say, come out on world trade terms.
Well, to bring you more on this, France 24's Bénédicte Pavillot is standing by for us in London. Bénédicte, hello to you. I mean, it's looking like a pretty glum prediction on both sides, at least for the moment.
Yes, we have a decision Sunday, clearly, agreed by both sides. Let's remember that we've had 2 over 1-hour conversations, one last Saturday, one just the other day, between the EU Commission President and the British Prime Minister. Then we had that trip from London to Brussels by Boris Johnson on Wednesday night, a dinner, according to who you believed, a frank exchange, which basically diplomatic code means a real disagreement, potentially a row. On the EU side, from the Mrs. von der Leyen side, lively and interesting. And the new deadline is Sunday. And you're absolutely right. Both sides are now warning that a deal is unlikely. Indeed, the British Prime Minister has today said it is very, very unlikely, and told British business, the British population, to get ready for a no deal.
I mean, Bénédicte, it sounds as though we've been saying this forever, and we have essentially. I mean, what is next? If, Sunday comes and no deal is reached, where can we go from here in this post-Brexit trade talks?
Yeah, we haven't had déjà vu once. We've had it twice, thrice, 4 times. We've had it for months. We've had it for weeks, and we've had it over the same sticking points: governance, fishing, and level playing field. So an unfair advantage that the UK could have over having access to the single market, for example, of the EU. An attempt by the British Prime Minister wanting to speak to the French President, President Macron, to the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, a firm nein and non given by the EU, which remains united. So we've had the leaks, we've had the claims, we've had the counterclaims. We're still going to get them. The question is, what is really going on in that room, beyond the posturing, beyond the claims and the counterclaims and the leaks? Well, only the people actually in the negotiating rooms in Brussels actually know what is going on, and whether it is true, and it has been said a few times, that 98% of a deal has been agreed. But it's the last 2%, and it is that famous sentence, nothing's agreed till everything's agreed, that applies. So we're told that a decision will be made on Sunday. But as we say, Many deadlines have been missed before. So what will we be told on Sunday? Suddenly that there is finally a deal in sight? Or will we be told, no, there is no deal? Or stand by, we might just be told again, actually, we're going to talk a little more. But what will not change is the 31st of December. The UK left on the 31st of January, the EU. We're in a transition period. That ends, deal, no deal, more talking, whatever, on the 31st of December. And many things will change for the UK, whether there is a deal or there is no deal on the 1st of January. So the saga, the drama, the leaks, the counterclaims will continue. Will the talks continue beyond Monday? Question mark.
All right, Benedict Pavio, keeping us up to date from London. Thank you. Let's get you some other world news now. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has warned that increased sanctions by the European Union will detrimentally impact everyone who's involved. Erdogan's comments came after the EU agreed to expand sanctions against Turkey for its exploration of gas reserves in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. Turkey could also face sanctions by the US after acquiring Russian defence systems. Ankara has stressed disputes with its allies, though, can be resolved through dialogue. Have a listen.
We have deep-rooted political and economic relations with both the United States and the European Union, which neither side can ignore or certainly can risk losing. There is no issue that cannot be solved through dialogue and cooperation.
Well, staying with Turkey, a short time ago I spoke to our chief foreign affairs editor, Rob Parsons. He told us why the EU is imposing sanctions now.
The problem has come precisely from the lack of dialogue on the Turkish part. And one could say also an aggressive, even at times bellicose tone towards EU member states, Greece in particular, but also Cyprus. And this comes, it has to be said to you, against a long background of tense relations between Brussels and Ankara. It goes back a long way, perhaps beyond even the failed coup d'etat of 2016, when the Turks accused the European Union of being lukewarm in their condemnation of the coup d'etat, and not responding quickly enough to support the Turkish government. The issue with refugees, the attacks by the Turkish armed forces against the Kurds in northern Syria, Kurds being supporters of the coalition against the Islamic State organization, and more recently, the position in Libya as well, with Turkey taking a pretty aggressive position in support of the government of national accord against General Haftar, which many believe is supported by France, incidentally. So a whole host of issues there behind this. But most recently, it started because of the drilling in the eastern Mediterranean. That's the big issue. The very bellicose tone that I was talking about from Turkey towards Greece. France has become engaged on the Greek side very actively, sending frigates to the eastern Mediterranean to exercise with the Greek Navy, aircraft as well. France, I think, will be very disappointed by the response, though. This is only targeting a limited number of officials and entities. France and Greece wanted more.
Next, discussions may have taken all night, but EU leaders have agreed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 55% by 2013. The hard-fought deal comes ahead of a UN climate meeting this weekend. That target will now need the green light from the European Parliament, as France 24's Camille Nedlick explains.
Droughts, heat waves and pandemics. As the fallout from climate change intensifies, so are the efforts to curb it. The European Union agreed to cut greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030 as compared to 1990 levels. That's a jump up from the previous 40% target in a bid to reach net zero emissions by 2050, as greenhouse gas emissions are a key driver of climate change.
All EU countries should benefit from the transition with economic growth, a cleaner environment and healthier citizens. The European Green Deal will be our growth strategy.
The agreement means that renewables will double their share of power production. The bloc will invest an extra €350 billion into low-carbon energy, and there'll be a push for more electric cars. And the EU will restrict carbon permits, making it more expensive for companies to pollute. The new measures come a day before the 5-year anniversary of the Paris Climate Agreement. Protesters marked the anniversary with this socially distanced demonstration. And the architect of the Accords also says not enough has been done to tackle the climate emergency.
C'est clair, évidemment les gouvernements sont sensibles aux arguments de ceux qui ne veulent pas changer. C'est souvent évidemment des entreprises qui représentent beaucoup d'emplois. C'est ce qu'ils connaissent aussi, c'est des choses nouvelles, ces politiques économiques pour le climat. Et c'est ça qui fait qu'il y a une espèce de décalage de délai.
The Global Carbon Project revealed on Friday that emissions in 2020 fell a record 7% due to the pandemic. But that without a green transition, that reduction would just be a temporary blip.
French health officials have registered 13,406 new confirmed cases of COVID-19. That's in the last 24 hours. Well, that's less than Thursday, but well above the 11,221 new cases that were reported last Friday. The good news is that intensive care cases have dropped again and are now well below a government target. Well, amid a surge in coronavirus cases and deaths, German authorities could impose tougher restrictions before Christmas. The country's health ministry reported nearly 30,000 new cases of COVID-19 on Thursday. That's up from 23,000 cases the previous day. Well, under current measures, restaurants, bars and sports facilities are closed. Schools and non-essential shops, though, remain open. Now, Argentina could be on the way to legalising abortion after the lower house of parliament voted in favour of a key bill. Abortions are currently only permitted if the mother's health is in danger or in cases of rape. The draft legislation would still need approval by Senate before becoming law. Declan McGarvey is in the capital, Buenos Aires. He tells us what's changed vis-à-vis the legislation since 2018.
Well, several factors have changed since the abortion bill last went before Parliament in 2018. Well, first of all, Argentina now, for the first time in its history, has an executive, a President Alberto Fernandez, who is publicly pro-choice on the issue of reform of Argentina's strict abortion laws. And he is leading this campaign for that reform as it goes before Parliament. Now, secondly, in national elections late last year, which saw the progressive liberal Fernandez ticket win those elections, the makeup of the National Senate also changed and it now includes more senators who campaigned on the issue of abortion and on reform of Argentina's abortion laws. Now, thirdly, and finally, this campaign this time round, as compared to 2018, has been much more marked within the context of conversation and consensus, as those lawmakers who have drafted this bill have attempted to reach across the ideological divide towards those lawmakers who are more conservative and to listen to their concerns and their worries. So, for instance, this abortion bill going through now towards the National Senate includes clauses on conscientious objection, which will allow doctors who do not wish to perform abortions to not do so, as long as they refer their patients immediately to a second doctor. It will include, for instance, clauses about girls under the age of 16 seeking an abortion and questions of parental consent. There is also the inclusion of a 1,000-day plan. Now, this 1,000-day plan guarantees state financial assistance to women in Argentina from the point of pregnancy through to the first 1,000 days of a child's life. Now, this is aimed at minimizing the risk of women seeking legal abortions, if they become legal, on the national health, public national health system as a result of their own economic circumstances. So all of this has made this abortion bill, as it goes through Parliament, first the lower house and now the upper house, more palatable to those who have had in the past concerns and worries over the passage of the bill, and that increases its chances of success.
A special tribunal has sentenced a member of Hezbollah to life behind bars for the assassination of Lebanon's former Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. In February 2005, a massive suicide blast tore through Hariri's armoured convoy in Beirut, killing him and 21 others. 57-year-old Salim Ayash was sentenced in absentia as he's still on the run. Marius Sophos reports.
After being found guilty in absentia of murder and terrorism on August the 18th by the Netherlands-based Special Tribunal for Lebanon, fugitive Salim Ayash, 57, was sentenced to life in prison on Friday.
In the circumstances, the trial chamber is satisfied it would impose the maximum sentence for each of the 5 crimes of life imprisonment to be served concurrently.
Ayash, a member of Hezbollah, remains on the run, with Hassan Nasrallah, the head of the Shiite movement, refusing to hand him over, alongside 3 other defendants who were eventually acquitted. When Ayash was found guilty back in August, however, Hezbollah's leadership was exonerated of any involvement in the bombing, as well as the Syrian government, which had also been suspected of playing a part. On February the 14th, 2005, a bomb tore through the motorcade of former Prime Minister Rafik Hariri, ripping off the balconies of the surrounding buildings and decimating Beirut's waterfront. Hariri died at the scene along with 21 others, while 226 people were injured. Suspicion immediately fell on neighbouring Syria, a country which Hariri had repeatedly criticised for its interference in Lebanese politics. 50,000 people attended Hariri's funeral in Beirut in an unprecedented outpour of public anger against Damascus. At the time of his assassination, the Syrian military had been occupying Lebanon for nearly 3 decades, but under international pressure, Syria withdrew its forces 2 months after the attack. Amid concerns about the legitimacy of the Lebanese justice system and the safety of those involved in the trial, a special court was set up to investigate the killing. Based in the Netherlands, the court was created in 2009. Critics of the trial said it was overly long and costly too, coming in at over $700 million, with a staff of nearly 411 full-time judges.
Next, the normalising of relations between Morocco and Israel is proving divisive this Friday. Russia, Iran and the Palestinian Liberation Organization have condemned the deal, calling it illegal. Oman, though, has joined the United States in welcoming the accord. Morocco has praised the US's recognition of its sovereignty over the Western Sahara. The Polisario Front, which has campaigned for independence since the 1970s, has vowed to fight on.
Another diplomatic deal for the outgoing administration, hot off the heels of Mike Pompeo's visit to Morocco in February.
The people of Morocco and the Jewish people have had a warm relationship in the modern period. Everybody knows the tremendous friendship shown by the kings of Morocco and the people of Morocco to the Jewish community there.
Morocco and Israel's informal ties will now be rekindled after they were cut 20 years ago following the outbreak of the second Palestinian uprising. Both countries also plan to open embassies in the near future.
Il y aura des vols directs entre le Maroc et Israël. Un bureau de liaison a été ouvert en 1994 jusqu'en 2002. Il sera réouvert pour accompagner la dynamique économique et de la coopération technologique entre les 2 pays.
The deal, sealed between Trump and Morocco's King Mohammed VI, has, however, received a colder response from Palestinians, who accused the Arab nations of giving up on the battle for a Palestinian state, a belief shared with other neighbouring countries.
أما حرمان الشعب الفلسطيني من حقوقه العادلة والمشروعة فهو السبب الرئيسي لبقاء المنطقة رهينة للصراع وغياب الاستقرار.
Mohammed VI, however, reiterated his support for a 2-state solution to Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. Morocco is now the 4th country to have normalised ties with Israel this year, after the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Sudan.
Next, ahead of taking office on January the 20th, the US President-elect Joe Biden and his Vice President-elect Kamala Harris have been jointly named Times Magazine Person of the Year. Well, the magazine saying this Friday the pair had offered to change the American story and share a vision of healing. James Vecina has this report.
With a month to go before they step into the White House, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are both named Times Person of the Year after winning what editors called a historic election.
Person of the Year is not just about the year that was, but about where we're headed. And the next 4 years are going to be an enormous test of them and all of us to see whether they can bring about the unity they've promised.
Previous recipients have ranged from former US presidents to Mahatma Gandhi or Adolf Hitler. As Time explains, the magazine honours those who've influenced the world for the better or for the worse. Gardens of the Year, a title given to those who, quote, put themselves on the line to defend the ideals sacred to democracy, was handed to health workers and disease expert Dr. Fauci for their frontline battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. The movement for racial justice also received considerable recognition, with covers for activist Portia Bennett as well as Assa Traoré, whose little brother died in police custody in France in 2016.
Why was he killed? I don't know. All I know is that he's my little brother. They killed my little brother, and I vowed that his death would not become a minor news item.
Traoré's calls for justice sparked a wave of protests in France. The move towards eliminating police violence has since taken centre stage in French politics.